we call this? Let's call it our clipboard callback. And let's pass it an integer value. And this is a callback, so this is fine. Let's apply that. And now we have a clipboard callback defined. So let's take use of that inside of our cut. We're going to select that clipboard callback, and we're going to use the cut constant. And we're going to do the same for copy. We're going to select our clipboard. And we're going to tell it it's a copy operation. And repeat the same process for paste. Okay, so now we have all three of our paste, cut, copy operations set up. And we're going to want to work on this text area. So I'm going to want to give it a better name. Maybe edit text, or that should be fine. It's a unique name, so it makes it easy to find. And now we are all set to start working on our cut, copy, and paste functionality. Now to start with, before we actually get to working with the clipboard, let's just make it so that the particular operation that's selected gets pasted into the status message here. So to start with, let's generate our C code and set up anything that still needs to be done here. So we're going to need a new callback here for clip handling. And it's going to need to take in a widget. And it's going to take in it's going to need to take in all the data that we received from the original callback, because we're going to need to access that eventually. So our declaration is going to look a little different there. And we should have a few more constants defined. So if I go ahead and grep for clip paste in our C, you can see we make use of that constant in our creation routines. And you'll see that in creation C we actually define that as a constant. So if I wanted to, I can grab that constant out of the creation C header. And in this case, I do want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and include the creation C header. And I'm going to add the clip cut copy and paste commands. Like so that those are available in our constants list. I'm going to make sure to add our clip into our initialization, like so. And finally, I'm going to fill out our actual clipboard. We're going to want the deactivate and activate threads. And then we're going to call clip with all the standard goodies. We're going to give it the call data as well as our client data. Now the client data coming in here, that's actually going to be our clipboard operation, which we specified above, cut, copy, or paste. And so now we have all of our C structure set up. All of our callbacks and our constants are ready for use. So let's just make sure we get rid of any warnings that we have. Mostly just a couple of value warnings here. So let's go ahead and get rid of those. Okay, everything compiles nicely. So now we have to think about how we want to do this stuff on the C or scheme side. So the first thing that we'll try to do is just update the status bar. That's all we're going to do, is just update the status bar with our particular operation that we want to perform. So let's get into the main file, and let's think about what we want as our as some of our how we're going to represent our constants. So if you recall, our incoming order was to have cut, copy, and paste. So now we've got some constants there that we're going to use. We're going to have the widget, the action to perform, and our client data here. And finally, we'll actually just case on our constants here with particular action. And it's either going to be a copy, cut, or paste. If not, we'll give a little error, like so. There we go. And for the copy operation, let's say update the status bar, primary selection, copy to clipboard. Should be good. And then let's say primary selection, cut to clipboard. And clipboard contents pasted into edit area. There we go. Alright, so now we have some basic operations, the idea of what we want to do. The main thing is, what does this USB look like? Our USB, or our update status bar, we're just closing over the particular widget. And we're probably going to update the status bar in a couple of places. So let's assume we have a global there to do some of that work for us. And let's see what that would look like. So now we need to think about how we actually update the status bar, because we want to think about that separate from what our actual handler is doing. So to do that, we know that it should probably take in a name for error purposes. And we're going to need the widget to get access to the status bar eventually. And finally, we want our message to work with, which should come in as a string. So the first thing that we would need to do is convert that string into an XM string that we can use when updating the label string resource of our status. So our text needs to be a proper string. And then we want to actually retrieve the status bar widget. So let's do that in a separate helper as well. And we're going to be using the BX widget IDs from names in there, which take essentially the name argument. So we're going to pass that through. Like so. All right. And now, assuming that everything goes well, we're going to have to remember to free our strings up. So let's just do that now. Like so. Okay. So there's going to be some more work that we have to do there. But let's work on making sure that we have XM string create localized. Here, and that just takes in a string and will give us back an XM string, which is just a pointer. And then we want XM string free, which is just going to take in an XM string and return void. So we've got all that. That's looking good. And now let's move to thinking about how to define or how to get access to the widget. So to do this, if you'll recall here, we used the BX widget IDs from names. So let's do something similar here. Let's let the widgets and we want to get access to the status bar. But let's be a little more robust than we were up there. Let's actually check whether we had a problem. Let's report it if we do. And otherwise, let's actually extract out that widget, and let's free up our resource once we've obtained the widget ID. Let's free up the resource ahead of time. And that way we won't have to worry about freeing it up whenever we want to get access to that status bar. Like so. So now we've got access to the status bar. All that's left is to update the status bar with our newly created text string. Unfortunately, that's not going to be quite as easy as it looks because we're going to have to handle an argument list. And in Motif, an argument list is a normal array of args, and each arg is a structure that contains 2 pointers. So we're going to actually mirror that structure on the C, or mirror the structure that comes in on the scheme or on the C side using the ftype function. So an ftype, an XM arg type, is just a structure with a name and the value pointer. And we want to be able to create arrays like